This video will be going over setting up your own interactable items and objects using Story Framework's interaction system. So let's jump right into it. So firstly, we're going to explain a little bit about how the interactable items work and how to modify these items. So Story Framework includes a interactable base master class, which is used for items and objects that can be interacted with. Every interactable base child class has an interaction data structure attached. Information like object name, this will be used when displaying the widget prompt to interact. The object mesh that is used for the actual object. This is also used for when the object is removed from the inventory or dropped. Interaction prompt offset is used for the widget prompt that is displayed when the player is looking at the item. This offset just slightly nudges the actual prompt widget in a desired direction. Display prompt from range value is used to determine at which point the prompt actually is visible for the interactable item when the player is near it. Interaction methods. So every interactable has two different methods. We have primary interaction method and secondary interaction method. Primary interaction method has four different methods. We have default, which simply just interacts with the item using a blueprint interface call. We have pickup, which will add the item to your player's inventory and remove it from the level. We have inspect, which will simply inspect the item. Then we have has item. So this is used for actors like doors which need to be opened with, say, a key, or generators that need to use, for example, a wrench to power another interactable actor. This will be touched on further in the video. Secondary interaction method. This is used primarily to complement the primary interaction method. So we have none, which does nothing, and inspect, which simply inspects the actor, same as the primary interaction method. Prompt text is used on the prompt widget that is displayed for the item. So leaving this empty, we'll simply just use the default prompt text. Using the tag empty, we'll display the object's name, only the object's name. Using the tag simplified, we'll display a simplified layout of the prompt, which is just at its core the input that is required to pick up the item. Play audio and interact, which simply just plays an audio when the player interacts with the item, regardless of whichever method is being used. Now, these are the three different interaction methods. We have pickup, which simply includes the icon that is used in the inventory when the item is picked up. Then we have the inspect method. So inside the inspect method, we have different types of inspect methods. We have pan to object, which will simply just look at the object or pan the camera into the object's direction. We have 3D inspect, which will use a render target to inspect the actor through a widget. We have 3D inspect plus readable, which will do the same thing as 3D inspect, but include the option to read the actor. And then we just have readable, which just simply gives the player the option to read the actor. Sound on inspect is a sound that is played when the player inspects the actor. We have 3D inspect actor distance from camera. This is used to determine how far away the actor is displayed on the widget away from the camera. So this would obviously be dependent on how big your mesh is. We have inspect actor offset. This will slightly nudge the actor or the item that is being inspected in whichever direction and rotate around the offset. And then we have readable text pages. So this is used for the readable inspect method and the 3D inspect plus readable method. So we can create as many pages as we want. Each array index is a different page, and these each have the capabilities to do multi-line text. Then finally, we have the has item method settings. So this includes two variables, the inventory item name and the option to consume the item. So when the inventory manager checks if the has item method settings has the inventory item name that it's looking for, this option determines whether or not that item gets removed from the player's inventory. Again, this will be further explained in an example further in the video. Now that we have explained how interaction items work, let's jump straight into setting up some examples. So let's make our way over to the Interactable base. Master class, let's create a child. We'll call this item tutorial, item A tutorial, underscore BP. And let's just quickly make a new folder here, call it tutorial. Go back to this folder and drag it over. Let's drag it into the level. Okay, firstly let's change some information here. Let's call this object old mug, and let's change this mesh to a mug. These meshes are also included inside of Story Framework. Now that we have our mug, let's change some information here. We're going to make this interactable item a pickup. We're not going to have a secondary method for it. We're going to call this prompt text let's do grab. Audio on interact will be the pickup item. Now let's change the pickup method settings. Or use the save icon, just for example, this item. Now that that's all set up, that should be just about everything. Let's change the prompt offset to add, say, 25 units on Z. Let's give this a play. Let's modify that value, let's make it 50, just so it's a little bit higher. And there you go. That is as simple as it gets. An item in the level that has the prompt text grab. Let's change this prompt text to grab old mug. Let's give it another play. And the prompt text has changed to grab old mug. So these pickup items can be picked up. It's now in the player's inventory. They can be dropped, picked up again, as simple as it gets. All the functionality is handled by the interaction manager. Now let's set up an inspectable item. So we're gonna duplicate this one and change some settings. We're gonna call this item photo. We're going to use the photo mesh. Let's give this a bit of a lower prompt offset. We'll leave the display prompt the same range. Do the primary interaction method as inspect, again leaving this as none. And then prompt text, we'll call this look at. We'll just keep it at look. Which changes to a whoosh. Let's tweak some of the inspect method settings. So we're going to change this to 3D inspect plus readable. We can actually clear this since we're going to be using the sound on inspect cue. Let's change the 3D inspect distance to 75. can leave this at 0, 0, 0. Let's add 2 pages. We'll call this is a demonstration of page 1, and this is an example of page 2. So let's give this a small test. As we can see, we have our actor. It's changed to first person. We can look at our inspectable actor, rotate him around, and then since we picked the 3D inspect plus readable inspect method, we can hit E, or our read bind, and as you can see, we have page 1, page 2. That just about covers the entire system behind inspecting items. We can slightly adjust these settings for a different outcome. Let's do pan to object. You can see how that looks. So this just simply pans over to the object. Let's jump onto setting up journal entry items. So let's duplicate this child. We're going to call this journal item A. Tutorial. Let's drag it into the level. Let's give this the book mesh. We're going to leave this name empty because we're going to use the prompt text simplify. Can leave this default since we'll be changing functionality inside of the child actor's blueprint graphs instead of inside the structure variables or values. Can leave this all defaults. Let's give this a prompt offset of 30. Slightly rotate this and let's hop into the blueprint graph. So let's right click and search for event interact with. So this is the blueprint interface call that is called when the player interacts with the item. This is used for any custom functionality when you interact with an item. So let's right click, let's do get SF inventory manager. This is simply a blueprint interface call from the player controller to get all the SF components. This is just to make it a little bit easier to access these references. So let's drag off this, let's search, add journal entry, connect these pins up, promote this to a variable, call this entry info, and expose this variable. So compile save, close the level. We can minimize this category, open up entry info. Entry name will be strange novel. Description can be this is an example of a journal entry description. Let's give the entry mesh the same as the item mesh, so a book. Let's make the distance from the camera 75. Let's give this a play. You'll see this is using the simplified prompt, so it's just a small little icon, the prompt, the input prompt. We can add that item to the journal. Open up our journal, we'll see our strange novel. I can go a bit further with this. We can do inside interaction data, interaction method, we can turn this into a inspect. And then inspect options, we'll just do a simple 3D inspect. Give this 75. We'll leave this 0, 0, 0. So now the player will inspect the actor and add the entry to the journal. Now let's set up items that use the has item interaction method. So I'm going to simply drag out this item. I'm going to give this mesh generator. Call this generator. Slightly rotate and scale this down. this slide would be on that. Perfect. Now let's go over to the primary interaction method. We'll leave this as item. Prompt text, we'll do use wrench. We're going to use the wrench item that was in the level I set up before the video. Let's go over to the has item method settings. The inventory item name we're looking for is wrench. So this item name would be searching for the object's name. So wrench. And we'll make it consume the item. So now give this a play. Let's adjust the prompt offset. Let's give this like 100. Let's give it 500. So we have the option to use wrench, but it's grayed out since we do not, or the player doesn't have the item in his inventory. So let's go over to the wrench. Let's pick up the wrench. We now have the wrench. If we click on the actor, we'll use the wrench, consume the item, and nothing's happened because we haven't set up anything yet. So let's duplicate this item. We'll call this as item 8 tutorial. Let's right click, place selected actors with as item. Now that we have set up our new actor with the same settings as we did previously, let's jump into the blueprint graph of this actor. Let's do a event interact with. So firstly we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call this interact with, or target interact actor. Let's give this a actor object reference to expose it. Off of this variable we're going to search interact with. This is also the same interface call. We're going to give this the tag on. We're going to be using this generator to switch on the light bar above the generator. Then we're going to get SF interaction manager. I'm going to drag off this and get the function converts interactable actor into static mesh. So this will just convert an interactable actor into the static mesh that it's using inside the blueprint. So let's try this yourself. We can destroy the previous actor that it's converting. And that's all completed. Let's go back over to the level. Let's find this new exposed variable and let's drag this onto the light bar. So this light bar is a blueprint I set up previously. It simply checks its data string from the interact with call, and depending on whether that's given on or off, it will turn the lights on or off. So let's jump over here. We've set that up correctly. Let's hit play. Let's pick up the wrench. Let's use the wrench, and as you can see, it turns the lights on, and it converts the interactable actor into a mesh, so the player cannot interact with this in any form anymore. So this just about covers the basics of setting up interactable actors and customizing and editing them. The system can be taken a lot further. This was just a very basic implementation example. Further explanations of the interaction system can also be found inside Story Framework's documentation board.